What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. In this week's video, I'm going to share with you some of the things I did in my business that I'm really glad I did. Last week, I shared with you some of the mistakes and lessons that I learned along the way. But this week, I want to focus on the good things that I did for my business that you could implement in your business to make your business that much better. If you're new to my channel, I'm Shelly Beyer, the creator of Pet Brainy, and I put out new videos every Tuesday with my best strategies and tips to help you grow your pet business. I'm creating this video because I know that there is so much to learn and do when running a pet sitting business. Sometimes hearing other people's experiences help us in navigating in our journey on building our own businesses. So I wanted to share with you some of the things that I've done in my pet sitting business that I think will help you on your journey of building your pet sitting business. So I'm going to share 10 things that I think I did right in my pet sitting business. Now, the first thing I feel like I did right out of the gate of starting my pet sitting business was tracking my expenses and my mileage. Now, I had run a business prior to Happy Tails Transport. And that was one of the mistakes that I felt that we made in that business. I wasn't really good on staying on top of that. And I did not want to make that same mistake. So this time I picked a software that I knew would be easy enough for me to stay on top of it. So I chose QuickBooks Self-Employed. Now, what I liked about QuickBooks Self-Employed is that it went off of the Schedule C. I didn't have to pick any categories or anything like that and build that all out. It was all built for me. All I had to do is connect it to my bank accounts and then track my mileage through the GPS system. Now, this made it super simple. So what I did is every day at the end of the day, any expenses that came in, because they were automatically imported through my bank account, or any income that came in, I would go in and categorize it. Now, the next thing I did is any miles that I did that day, I would categorize it if it was personal or business, because what it did is it tracked all miles anytime I got into the car. So it was pretty easy because I would just swipe left or swipe right. Now, if it was business mileage, then I would document where exactly I went. So QuickBooks Self-Employed is great for solo entrepreneurs or small business owners. I would highly recommend it because it truly does help you stay on top of it as long as you do it on a consistent daily basis. If you wait until a few days later to categorize it, you seriously forget where you went, and then the miles are really, really hard to categorize. So as long as you stay on top of it, it makes it really, really easy. The second thing I feel I did right in my business was I created a website before I even opened my doors. I knew the importance of having that online presence, because if you don't have a website, there's that stigma that you might not be a professional business. It doesn't mean that it's true, but people like to do business when you have an online presence, and a Facebook page just doesn't cut it. So I made sure and had a website up and going. It wasn't a perfect website, and by all means, I look back at that website that I had and I kind of laugh at it. But you know what? It was a website. It was up and it gave me a professional appearance, which brought in clients to my business. So that was a really good thing I did. So if you don't have a website, I would definitely highly recommend getting a website. So the third thing that I feel like I did right in my business is I had a plan. I knew from the get-go that I wanted to build a team. I didn't want to be the one doing all the dog walking and the pet sitting. I wanted to work on my business, not in my business. But with that, I had to do a lot of research. I had to figure out, was I going to hire employees or was I going to hire ICs? That is always the big question. And through my research, I decided to hire employees. So what I did is I spent about 2 months working in the business and figuring out exactly what my expectations were going to be of my employees, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to manage a team if I hadn't worked in the business to know exactly what I wanted. So that's what I did. And at the 2-month mark, I hired my first employee. I worked in the business for longer than that. I kept working in the business, but I also had an employee working alongside of me. And then what I did is, as I built enough business for both of us, I took myself out of the equation and hired another employee. And then it just kept building from there. So that's what I did. But I'm really, really happy that I had a plan from the get go. I knew exactly where my business was going, and that was peace of mind for me, knowing where I was going. Because you can't really drive across country without a roadmap. And it's the same thing with your business. If you don't have a roadmap of where you're going to struggle in it. So that I feel like I did right. So the fourth thing I feel like I did right in my business is, when choosing my service area, I kept it very small. I didn't want to choose a service area that I would be driving all over the map to get to. So I chose a service area where I could get anywhere in that service area within 15 minutes. And boy, am I glad I did. Everybody kept asking me, "Are you sure that there's enough clients for that small of a service area?" And my gut told me that after working at the vet's office, I knew that there were so many people that had pets that I knew that there was going to be plenty of business for me. So I kept my service area very small. And with that, it's made it so much easier when scheduling my employees, because once I built a team, I was able to split that service area up into small quadrants where people are not having to drive more than 5 to 7 miles. I wanted to make it so that they weren't wasting time on the road, spending their gas money and cutting into their profits. And that was a very smart decision that I made. Super happy that I made that decision. So the fifth thing I feel I did right in my business was I got a car wrap. Now, this is a very controversial subject. For me, it worked out great. Now, everybody has their own opinion on this, but I knew that I was not going to be the one doing the pet sitting and the dog walking. I knew that I was going to be using my vehicle as a marketing tool. And boy, has it paid off. I spent only $400 on that vehicle wrap. And what it has done is brought in so much business. My car is so recognizable in our community. Everybody knows that car. So that was a huge win for me, spending $400 for a car wrap and getting a ton of business for it. It has definitely paid off for me. So the sixth thing I feel like I did right in my business was I created packages. I wasn't selling individual services. Instead of selling one visit, I was selling 20 visits at a time. This made it so that I had a lot more income coming in all at once, which was wonderful. But the biggest benefit of having packages that I found is that clients weren't comparing my prices to other businesses' prices. What was happening is that they were comparing my packages pricing instead of my pricing with other businesses. So that was an added benefit. So I'm super happy that I created packages because it's made everything so much easier. What's the number one thing you feel like you did right in your business? Tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Telling each other what we did right helps each other, because then we can implement those things in our business. So tell me in the comments below. So the seventh thing I feel like I did right in my business is I created systems. I am good at systems and I love systems. So I made sure that my business had a system for everything. Systems are very, very important and key to having a successful business. So if you don't have systems in your business, make sure and create them. Take a hard look at all of your business practices and make sure you have a documented system for everything. So the eighth thing I feel like I did right in my business was I hired an assistant. And boy, was I glad I did. They took so much of the little stuff off my plate. But the biggest thing that they took off my plate was training the employees. I love that because that was a huge piece. So they trained the employees and they did all of the little stuff that I needed done throughout the day. That allowed me to focus on the money producing activities instead of all of the little stuff. So that was a great thing that I did for my business. So the ninth thing that I feel like I did right in my business is I stopped managing my team and I started influencing my team. I started to build a cohesive team. When I first started hiring team members, I found that I had a lot of turnover. And I knew the industry was known for turnover, but at the same time, I had to take a hard look at myself to see if there was something that I was doing that was causing the turnover. And I learned a few things. The first thing was I expected my team to be available whenever I needed them. If they didn't put a request in for time off, I assumed that they were willing and able to work. But what I was doing is I wasn't giving them blocks of time to work. I was just expecting them to work and be at my beck and call whenever I needed them to be. And that wasn't fair to them. So that is something that I changed. But the other thing that I changed was I started empowering them to do more than just dog walking and pet sitting. So if I had a team member that was exceptional and I felt like that they could benefit me in the office and help me in the office, then what I did is I allowed them to do some office work and do some of my marketing for me and different things. And I empowered them and started teaching them other aspects of the business, which definitely fulfilled them more. And it made me feel good because I was able to mentor them, but it also helped me because it took a big load off of me. So empowering them to do other things was very beneficial for both of us. And what I have found is that I'm actually keeping my employees a lot longer. So that has been a great change. I stopped managing and I started influencing. And by influencing, people want to work hard for me, and I've created an awesome team. So the 10th thing, and probably the most important thing I feel like I did right in my business, is I hired a mentor. I took a lot of courses and I was coachable. Boy, was I happy I did that. It just cut down on the learning curve, seriously. And I kind of wish that I would have done it a little earlier than I did, but I still did it and I'm very, very grateful for it. So everybody in any type of business should look for mentors to help them on their journey of being an entrepreneur or a business owner. So I would definitely find a mentor. So there you go, 10 things that I feel like I did right in my business. I'm really hoping that this has helped you. Now, speaking of mentors, if you don't have a mentor yet, I would love to help you. I actually created a membership site for like-minded people just like yourself that own pet businesses or are starting pet sitting businesses. And I'm bringing the community together in one location off of Facebook where we can get focused and make big differences in our businesses, where we can help each other. Everything that you possibly need is in that membership site. I've thought of everything. It is jam-packed with great material and courses in there to help you on your journey of pet business ownership. So go ahead and pop over to petbrainy.com and get on the wait list, and I'll notify you when we have open enrollment. I'm really excited to have you join us, so I hope that you do. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you're notified every week when I put new videos out. If you think your friends would enjoy these videos, be sure to share it with your friends. I'd love to see them. As always, I appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.